Hi, welcome. I'm Tom, your host, and this is the DROPCAST Movie Poster Podcast Interview Edition. And today I will talk to one of my favorite people in the AMP world and a good friend of the show, Rory Kurtz. He's finally back to reveal everything behind an already stellar career and so much more. And I hope we get some insights on the person as well. So stay tuned. Head over to our Instagram profile at DropMacOfficial to follow us or check us out on YouTube for the video version. And don't forget to smash that like button. Now let's get started. Mr. Kurtz, how you doing?
I'm doing good this morning. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing good as well. I had already a long day. I mean, school is starting next week. This is going to come out a little bit later, but school is going to start next week for me. And I have been doing like all the admin stuff because I'm the IT guy at my school, and like getting rid of all the accounts, like the old accounts from the students and teachers who left the school and stuff like that. So that was my morning. Fun
so
stuff.
It's crunch time for you right now.
Basically, it is. So yeah, but it is what it is. It still feels good that school's back, and then that I can finally teach again. Missing it a little bit.
Well, we're raising a new puppy right now, so I haven't been getting a lot of sleep. So I'm going to be a little bit zombified today.
All good.
But we'll soldier through.
Indeed, we are. It's going to work out. Don't worry about it. And I don't know if you're familiar with the new way we do things in the interview. There's gonna be a speed round. So I hope you're not too zombified, but we're gonna do 10.
No, I got you. I've got my coffee right here, so I'm ready to go.
All right, 10 things we're gonna associate, and after that, we're gonna talk about 3 posters of yours, and then we get more into the interview portion of things. And if you'd like to ask me questions, go ahead. I'm always open. If you want to ask back as well.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Alrighty. So let's start out with the first word. You're gonna associate things. Just try to do what comes into your mind. We had last time, I don't know.
First word.
That we had one person who was thinking I think a minute or so about the thing because the person couldn't say the word. But okay. Here we go. First thing is color.
Black.
Character.
Batman.
Favorite seat in the cinema.
E12.
All right. Is that in the back or in the front? Like from when you're sitting?
It's about it's row E, so A, B, C, D,
5?
E. So it's 5 rows in.
Okay.
And it's usually in my cinema where the handrail is between the lower portion of the seating and the upper. So you're kind of in like that sweet spot where you've got nobody's heads in front of you, but you're still pretty close to the screen. And E12 through 15 is kind of like dead center in a 30-seat row, you know? I
see. We have that. We have in our cinema, it's called UCI Lux, and it's like basically they have like in every cinema those chairs you can basically like recline like super far back. Yeah. So there's no heads ever, except maybe like a 7-footer person.
Oh yeah, I mean they converted our theater to that too. So we do all have those recliners. So you're right, it does take away the head thing, but now it's just out of force of habit. Like that's just where we got it. And it's still the best view.
Okay.
You know, like it's the best viewing distance from that giant IMAX screen.
I mean, I know the general manager from my IMAX here, and he told me that in row 5, I think it was 5, that's where the IMAX audio technician was sitting to calibrate the whole thing. So this is
row 5.
This
I'm
is where I'm
telling you,
man. Yeah. Moving on a little bit. What song is on heavy rotation right now?
Oh gosh. Let me see. Let me open my. I do have a lot of songs on rotation. Let me just look in my
What's the last one
library
you
here
played?
and see. What's the one I've been playing the most lately? Okay, it would be Jungle, and I would just go with the whole album.
All right.
Jungle from their freshman album, Jungle, which is a great summertime album. Like at this time of year, it's got like a heavy breakbeat to it.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of great vocals, and it makes for great cruising music. and I listen to a lot here in the studio.
This is basically when I listen to cruising music, I always listen to like G-Funk.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
That's my cruising
like
music.
that extra beat on there, a stinky beat.
Exactly, yeah. Moving on. What other job would you be doing if you were not an artist?
I think that I would like to be a luxury car salesman.
What kind
I
of?
think I'd like that a lot.
What would you love to sell? Which car?
Oh gosh, I'm such a fan of so many of them. I like the BMW X series.
All right.
They're series of SUVs.
Yeah, my dad has
the odd
the
number
X4.
ones. He's got the X4. I like the X3 a lot. I like the X4 is more like coupe style. It's got like a low slung back end, and it's got a really attractive like Sportster looking SUV. So I like that a lot. I like the Jaguar F-Pace is a great ride. The Lincoln MKX, which I think is getting renamed right now. But so I'm just a fan of luxury sports rides. I don't own one. Let me be clear about that. I drive I buy a very economical Mazda CX-5, and I baby it because I like my cars. But one day, I'd love to have a nice luxury ride, and when I'm done transporting dogs and artwork and don't have to worry about beating it up, So I think I'd enjoy selling them because I enjoy the culture of them, and I enjoy learning about them and keeping an eye on what's coming out and whatnot. And I love sales, love people.
Yeah, I used to work in sales when I was in university and college, so that was always like getting me through things. So I was in the sneaker sale business. So I worked for a sneaker retailer.
Yeah. Well, now were you doing like the special release sneakers? Or was
Also,
this like
everything.
a bread and butter, everything? Yeah.
We had like, I don't know, we had like, when we had the big store, the store went downsized a little bit at some point. But I think like in the beginning, we had like 250 or 300 different sneakers on the wall, like on a whole wall.
Good Lord. What brands? Like Adidas,
Everything.
Nike?
The
Puma?
The whole spiel, yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite brand?
I have to say I'm a Nike man.
Nike guy. All right. Yeah. I'm Adidas. I like Adidas.
Fair enough, yeah.
Adidas got the Yeezy too. So Adidas are really hot right now.
But before they had the Yeezy, Nike, so.
Yeah, Nike, yeah. And Nike's Nike. They've had Air Jordan for 30 years, so
that's fair.
Sort of top brass.
But most of mine are Jordans that I used to have, but now I'm more into like the running side of things.
Sure.
Like the Reacts, I like the Reacts, like the React Surtu. That's the last one I bought. So yeah.
I haven't seen any of their running sneaks. Yeah, but talk about a big culture. I mean, like like I said, luxury cars have a big culture, but sneakers, man, it's an even bigger, monstrous culture of people.
Yeah, I mean, I was working back then. I was at a sneaker store when they had like the releases. Like with people actually camping out and not just lotteries and anything. So it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I know my buddy Matt Taylor is a big sneakerhead.
Yeah, I know. We talked hours.
Oh, he's talked about that? Yeah.
When he was on a podcast, we talked sneakers. Also Murugaya, he's also a big sneakerhead.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Well, he's a UK boy too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a big part of the culture over there too, Yeah, a lot of sneakerheads in the UK.
Yeah. Favorite animal?
My dog. My wife and I just adopted a golden retriever. So at the moment, I would say that the retriever is
would you also say,
animal.
If we're going to talk like which kind of animal, also dog, or would it be something different?
I think at the moment, I go with dog. I live in a heavily dog neighborhood. Everybody around me has a dog, and they walk their dogs, and I love meeting them all. And
what's the name?
My dog's name is Rilo. It was a compromise between Riley, which my wife wanted, and Lolo, which I wanted. So we went with Rilo.
I thought it was a mix between
Star Wars.
Yeah, Rey and Kylo.
No. Although my wife suspected that at first when I pitched the compromise. She's like, isn't that a Star Wars thing? I'm like, no, that's Raylo. All right? Mm-hmm. That's Raylo. It's completely different.
I have to say, my dog's name is Boba Fett. So.
Okay, so you just went with it. You just leaned into the Star Wars thing.
That's
I would have liked to. If my wife had been averse to Star Wars, I probably would have went with Kylo as a dog name. But what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I was like I wasn't sure if I wanted a dog, and then there was like the compromise she gave me at the time, my girlfriend, and then she was like, you can name the dog whatever you want. Boba is totally fine. Do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Naming rights are big.
Yeah. So,
naming rights are something big to have in your pocket. What kind of dog was it? What breed?
It was a mutt. We got it from shelter, so it was.
Yeah. Any suspects? Like, did you suspect any Labrador or Pitty or?
It looks like it looks a little bit like a dingo wolf German Shepherd mix.
Oh, no kidding! Wow. Yeah, dingoes are smaller dogs too, and shepherds are big ones. So where did
it's like totally weird. His his brother was like super German Shepherd with long fur, and he looked more like he's been around the block. But we got him when he was 4 months, so there was like I don't know.
Oh, so he was still kind of a pup when you got him,
yeah. So that was pretty cool. Good times with Boba. He was like in the beginning when we started with the German movie review part. He was always like the mascot and coming on and stuff. And
yeah,
fun times. But yeah. Well, and by the way, if like I had like Boba was his name, and I was thinking about getting like a gecko or something, like some reptile, and would call it Bosk, obviously.
Yeah.
get the whole crew together, you know.
Yeah, reptiles are low maintenance anyways, so
yeah. Moving on, your favorite tale, myth, legend.
Ooh, Orpheus and Eurydice.
All right.
If I'm pronouncing her name correctly, I believe it's Eurydice.
I think you spell it as a K. You pronounce it as a K in Greek. It's Orpheus.
Yeah.
Like we in Germany we would say Orpheus und Eurydice.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. I've unfortunately, I don't think I've ever even heard it uttered out loud. You know, I've only ever read it in books.
Yeah.
I read it when I was a small kid. I mean, I was probably 10 years old or something. I came home from my school library with like sort of a children's book on Greek mythology, and that sort of pared everything down to, stories that could be understood by a 10-year-old. And even at 10 years old, that story broke my heart, and I've been a fan of it ever since.
Yeah, my favorite book was always like when I was a kid, because I was reading it like so many times. It was Jason and the Argonauts. That was my favorite story back when I was a kid. So
I like these bullet spray questions. Like, it's getting things coming out of my head that I haven't thought about in a long time, but I'm just going right from the gut on the answers. This is fun.
Awesome. Okay, we got two more. Samurai or ninja?
Ninja.
All right. It's like very like equal. In the beginning, like all the interviews when I started doing this, everybody was saying samurai. Nobody was saying ninja, but lately everybody has been ninja.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Stealthy.
I like
and when you asked me earlier character and I said Batman, I mean, like, of course, Batman and ninja, like, stealthy in the shadows.
Okay, let's do two more.
Sure.
Portrait or landscape?
Portrait.
And last but not least, food.
Oh, macaroni and cheese.
Wow, what an American answer right there.
Hey, it was the first thing that came to mind, man. I don't have it that often, but damn, is it good when I do.
I haven't had it in a long time because, like, I don't know. Is there a vegan option right now? I think there should be one, right? But because
I don't know if there is. If there is, then it's not mac and cheese. I'm sorry to say, it's an imposter then.
I can't eat cheese because otherwise I'll spend the day on the toilet. So.
Okay, yeah, no. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. We're a cheese country here, so yeah, we're inured to it.
All good. But speaking of Wisconsin here, are you happy that Aaron Rodgers is back or not?
I'm not a huge Packers fan, so I couldn't say I don't have a personal stake in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm proud of my state teams. I'm proud of the Bucks. Who finally, after 40-odd years, like brought home the championship. I like Aaron Rodgers. I think, not to wax poetic about football or anything, but when Brett Favre left, we were all a little brokenhearted, and that was a tough a tough breakup. There was a lot of back and forth, and there was a lot of hurt
yeah.
feelings. You know what I mean? Like,
I remember.
And then having to play against him in the years after, was really difficult. And I think when Aaron Rodgers proved himself to be an even more capable QB, that it was a source of great joy for Packer fans. I do feel like he hasn't been as supported, by his linemen, over the past 2 years. And I think, he could have found more success with the team if he had more support. So, the fact that he's giving us another shot hopefully means that, we'll up our game and help him win the next ring,
Yep. Let's see what's going to happen this year. I'm excited about it, but I hope at least not Tom Brady again. I can't.
Yeah. I know that's too much of a heartbreak to see happen over and over again. It's a dynasty is the problem, and I love watching dynasties fall. So hopefully the Pack will do it.
Yep. Alrighty. So those are the little speed round we had, which turned into a long speed round, but which was fun though.
That's fine. That's the good stuff.
Totally. Exactly. But let's get into some posters because there's some I really would love to talk about. And first off, it's going to be the latest one that you have, two of the latest one that you've turned out. And we start off with the latest one, which is the key art for Lamb that you did for A24's new movie. How did this happen? How did this come about? What's the story behind it? How did you get in touch with A24? Is it your first time? I think it's your first time, right? With them directly?
Yeah, it's my first time working with them officially. And I worked through an agency, and I want to be careful what I mention because those agency relationships are very valuable. So I'll probably refrain from using names and titles in that.
Sure.
But the agency reached out to me, and they had been working with A24 and the filmmaker, and they're like, we'd really love you to come on and take a swing at this. And I believe they had 2 other artists that were also working on it, and so we were all sort of pitching ideas. We were all kind of in a sandbox together. And one of the other artists, who I can't name, is a friend of mine, and so we were pretty open with each other on what we were trying and what directions we were going with. So it was fun. It was exploratory, and there wasn't a lot of pressure early on. Nothing was guaranteed to move forward. So it was like, hey, just do what you do. So we all got to see the film, and then put forth our pitches. And yeah, I think. I thought the film. Oh well, I can't say much about the film because it hasn't opened yet. Here
is it still under embargo?
It is under embargo, and I'll tell you, it's breathtaking and mysterious. And I think people are, and if you're an A24 fan, which I am, it fits beautifully in their library. It's a perfect puzzle piece.
Awesome.
I mean, their releases are fantastic. Oh my God, I just saw The Green Knight this weekend.
Oh yeah, nice.
That's a whole nother tangent.
Yeah,
it's a whole nother tangent.
That's what we're going to touch upon. So don't worry about it. I figured you have seen it. So
yes, we'll come back to that. But yeah, so I pitched my idea, and the director loved it, and the producers loved it, and it was a much larger idea at first. It had a lot more conceptual elements going on in it, which I personally was a fan of. They ended up trimming those down over time to the barest elements of just being this landscape with the central female protagonist and then the lamb, the title character. And they stripped everything away, right down to I had flowers in the field behind her that actually, do make an appearance in the film. And they're like, nope, no flowers. Let's just strip it down to its barest element. And that was tough to see go, I love some of those conceptual elements, but I think that in this film in particular, the filmmaker probably wanted to play his cards close to his chest and didn't want to show any of those conceptual elements early, and probably wanted the film goer to experience them during the film, and not.
You have to watch out for the flowers.
Yeah, well, the flowers aren't any plot point, but So I respect that, and at the end of the day, I think there's a danger as an illustrator of falling too in love with your own idea, and which happens a lot. It's naturally going to happen. It's.
I mean, any.
I'm sure a lot of other. Any creative, it's pride of ownership, you know what I mean? And it's, and you have to have it to be good at what you do. You know, if you don't love what you're making and don't have an attachment to it as a writer or a musician or an artist or what have you, you know, like you're just not going to be turning out very good work. So, but it can bite you in the butt because in a collaborative process like that, especially where there's a hierarchy of needs, you know, and the director's needs sit at the top. You know, it's like you just got to take it on the chin when they're like, no, we want that out, do it this way, you know, and you just have to be a team player.
Yeah, I totally understand that. That's why when I do my like covers and like do a little bit of art directing I do for the podcast in terms of design, I'm happy that I get input sometimes, and I was like,
sure,
I don't know if I should regard that input or not. So
well, you know, and fortunately in the work that illustrators do, you know, like I have outlets where I have more import in what I'm doing. Like when I'm working with Mondo, they're very much willing to let me make a lot of the decisions myself and give me final sway, especially even when they don't agree with it. And they're like, we'd rather see it this way, but hey, if you believe it, then we'll do it that way, you know? And that sort of helps, you know, soften the blow when the commercial work, you know, demands that I simply acquiesce whatever the director or the agency's needs are.
Yeah, it still turned out beautiful, so all good on that part. And
yeah, I'm still very happy with it, and I think it has a really soft, romantic feel.
Is there going to be? I mean, since you talked like what you had another friend of yours also did a key art for it. Was it like fully finished key art, or was it just the process and then? Or
I don't know. Yeah, like I don't.
It's like there
came a point.
Basically, that's what I'm asking. If it's going to come out.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, there came a point in the process where, you know, the ideas sort of split off, and I don't know if the agency continued to work with the other artists or not. You know, oftentimes with a film, like there's not just one piece of key art.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be a dozen for different markets and different applications and whatnot. So I think mine was probably the first. I don't recall seeing another poster for Lamb yet, but there may be more down the line, and perhaps my friends will be releasing those with A24 in the future. I should find out, actually. I should reach out to them, get some intel. Perfect. But whatever they do, it'll be fantastic too. They're great artists. Awesome. So
yeah, and can you tease, because like you said something about there's going to be a print of this one. Is there any news or anything you can say about it yet, or?
Well, yeah, and I can't say for certain about that. Okay. All I can say is that, you know, we're talking about it and seeing what we can make happen. And, you know, I missed out on being able to release a print of Baby Driver. It's difficult when you're doing key art to get those rights because there are likeness rights to include in that too. And I don't have a direct line to a lot of the talent that show up in these films. You know, like I don't know John Hamm. You know what I mean? I can't just call him up and get his John, approval to release something. You know, hey, Hambone, what's going on, man? So that's tricky. So getting the rights to release those prints is tricky. I think there are some artists who have worked more closely with the director, like James Jean, I know, worked more closely with Darren Aronofsky, and so he was able to do a release of Jennifer Lawrence and the poster he did. But I couldn't. If I recall, Kevin Spacey at the time had like a very strict rule about not using his likeness like that. So, I mean, it just is what it is. So sometimes we get the rights, sometimes we don't.
Alrighty. We just spoke briefly about art directing, and you've turned out a piece with a great art director. Your beautiful Logan piece for Mondo for SDCC, and your art director was Akiko. And you talked on the podcast, on the Mondo podcast about it, but maybe we can get a compressed version or condensed version of how your work was with Akiko.
Well, her and I met a couple of years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, ironically. Back in, I can't recall, 2018 maybe, 2019, and we just got on really well. We did a panel together, and then we all went out to lunch after, all of us artists, and there were a lot of great artists there, and Paul Shipper organized all of it, and Paul Shipper is a massive talent, and he had Akiko and I sitting next to each other, and my wife was there, and we just had a great time talking, and we stayed in touch after, and we've sent each other some work when we can, you know, and things we haven't been able to take on that we've been able to pass for each other. And I'm just a huge fan of Akiko's work. I think her work is fantastic, and she's got a great sense of humor. So
she does.
So it's really been a pleasure to work with her.
I don't know if you have seen when we talked about it on the podcast with James, because something trickled through that there was
really?
some games afoot.
Oh.
I don't know if you want to comment on it. I'm just
about.
going to leave it at that. And
no comment.
No comment. All right. So then comment please on how was your work process on this one?
Oh, it was a lot. I reached out to her when Mitch Putnam came to me from Mondo, and he's like, oh no, it was Eric Garza. Let me correct that. Let me amend that. Yeah, all things X-Men sort of fall under Eric Garza. He's a huge fan of that property. So he had reached out to me and he's like, hey, do you want to take on Logan? And I'm like, if it was any X title that I'd take on, it would be Logan. So yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite X film. Just ahead of Days of Future Past, which I thought was an underrated X film. But anyway, so I told him, I'm like, hey, I'd love to work with Akiko on something. We've been talking about collaborating a little bit. Would you mind if we did it on this? And he was like, sure, talk to Akiko, work out whatever you want, you know? Mondo's really great like that. They're very exploratory. So I reached out to Akiko and we chatted about it for a while. She hadn't seen Logan yet, you know, and I'm like, watch it. You know, I'm not going to twist your arm to participate, you know, until you see it. So if you like the film and you feel like you'd have something to say about it, or if it seems like a juicy property to work on, then let me know. And she did. She watched it and she reached out back and she said, let's get moving. So so I ended up, you know, we sort of naturally fit into roles throughout the process of it. You know, when we first started it, like I didn't know where we would land. But I had promised her early on, because she's very busy. She's a highly sought after key art illustrator specifically, you know.
Yeah, we had her on the show. I don't know if you've seen the interview, the full on interview.
Yeah, no, I know you've talked at length with her. So I knew her time was really limited. So I'm like, look, I'll handle all the art making duties. You know what I mean? Like you know, if you can art direct me and help me make some of the important decisions and work on the design with me and whatnot, like I'll do all the heavy lifting, you know, so you can stay on your current assignments and I'll work on this, especially since it's a title that meant quite a lot to me, you know? So she said, yeah, let's do it that way. And so I just kept spitting ideas out to her and she would edit them and play a little jazz, send me a couple mock-ups back and, you know, and then we thinned out, you know, the ideas until we got what you see today as the final art. But then every step of the way, even just the color choices, everything goes to Akiko, you know, and she would have a look and be like, let's do this and let's do that, you know. And it was kind of like, and towards the end, we were almost like pruning the same flowering plant together, where like, you know, I would make a snip here and she'd turn the pot and make a snip there, and she'd like, well, what if we move the title here? And I'm like, what if we just tweak it up a little bit? And like, you know, and it was just a really great process, and I enjoyed it a lot. And you know, it's making alternative movie posters or key art for that matter, like it's a very isolated process. It's just a person alone in a studio, you know, and the agency, if anything, can oftentimes just be another boss to answer to, you know. As much as you love them to be your peers, you know, really they've just got demands that need to be met. So you don't really have anybody to sort of, you know, bounce ideas off of. And oftentimes you're under these non-disclosure agreements and NDAs and whatnot that prevent you from even sharing what you're working on with other artists to get their feedback from. So just having somebody through the whole process to be able to bounce ideas off of was just invaluable. I can't tell you how invaluable it was and how pleasant it was.
That sounds really awesome. Last but not least, I want to talk about one of my favorite pieces of yours I own myself, which is from the Frank Lloyd Wright show, the Talcene house that he designed and your artwork for it. How did this come about?
I know Ken Hashimoto over at Hashimoto Contemporary, and I can't remember if we had a chance to work on something before that, but he knew I did screen prints and I
like with spoke art, or did you do something with spoke art?
Yeah, you know, I can't recall exactly. I don't think I did. I think that might have been the first thing we did together. And I haven't done that many releases with spoke art, but I've come to know Ken pretty well. And yeah,
he's a good guy.
And he's a fantastic guy. Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. And just a great lover of arts and really decent and accommodating. And he had reached out and he was like, hey, you know, I remember he had wanted me to do something for a serigraph show a while back of screen prints, and I wasn't able to join in.
It just came out, right?
Yeah, there's another one. Like he's done several of them now. And he's like, well, I'll catch you on the next one. And the next one was a show of Frank Lloyd Wright inspired pieces.
Okay.
And he was working directly with the foundation. And he was like, what would you like to take on? And I said, if I do it, I got to do Taliesin, because it's here in Wisconsin where I am.
That's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Yeah, Taliesin. And it's in spring green, which is a beautiful, beautiful part of the state.
You have been there?
That I actually
to the house?
What was that?
Have you been to? That
Yeah.
house?
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. I lived in Spring Green for a while
okay.
when I was younger, and I was an actor with a Shakespeare company out there. Believe it or not. When I was a very young lad.
Interesting.
And I visited Spring Green and Taliesin many times, and I just had a great fondness for the landscape there and the beauty out there. And I didn't appreciate it enough at 19. When you're young, all we want to do is get back to the city and meet girls and go party and all that stuff. But now as a middle-aged man, I'm like, I'd like to drive out to Spring Green this weekend and do some fishing. And stay at and go visit Taliesin and stay on the river somewhere. So I did the print form, and I loved doing it. It was kind of a love letter to both Taliesin, Frank Lloyd Wright's home, but also the landscape of Spring Green. I brought a lot of that into the artwork.
Yeah.
It needed to kind of function as both for me because they're inextricable in my mind. So we ended up doing a piece, and it went over really well. We dropped a variant, and they both sold out like hotcakes. And
I was lucky.
And I got to know.
I was lucky. I was at when they had the show at the Hashimoto. I was in New York at that time, so I could.
Oh, did you get to see it in person?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
I get to see it in person. I talked to the Frank Lloyd Wright people and like the Foundation and stuff like that. And I think I bought like half of all the series 1, and I got half of series 2 as well. So.
Yeah. Well, and they look great on the wall together, and it's a collection that people all over the world would enjoy because Frank Lloyd Wright is a legend in architecture.
I even have the I forgot what the Japanese name was. Kurigami? I think it's Kurigami. It's like when you do with the X-Acto knife, when you cut out certain parts and you can fold it up, so it's like 3D model.
Yeah.
I got a I got a whole Frank Lloyd Wright book for that, with like multiple houses in there. So that's like really
there's no short. And I think Lego. I don't know if I'm misspeaking, but I think Lego released 1 or 2 sets of very important Frank Lloyd Wright designs, that are much sought after as well. So, so I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, and I got to meet the probably the same handful of folks over at the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and some of them are dear friends now.
You had
Jeff
the show
Goodman
in
over
person,
there,
right? There was like a
then the show came to Spring Green. It came to Taliesin, and they held it at the Visitor Center. For Taliesin, and I got to be there and sign some prints and spend a weekend with Ken and Dasha and Jen from Hashimoto, as well as Jeff Goodman from Frank Lloyd Wright, and we just had a fantastic time. It was a lot of fun. And Spring Green's my backyard. They had never been to Wisconsin before, so I got to show them
the inside,
like some true. So I took them out for a Friday night fish fry and filled them full of custard and did Wisconsin right. So it was fantastic. I'm glad I got to do it, and I'm doing it again. So
awesome. That sounds really good. And I mean I have to say also the Hashimoto show, the Frank Lloyd Wright show, was basically my first ever in-person show from this hobby. So there was
no kidding.
Yeah.
That was a good one then.
There's not much stuff going on, basically. No gallery shows. I mean, they have gallery shows in Berlin, obviously, but not for this kind of hobby. So it's like and
honestly, they haven't had any shows here for a year and a half. I mean, since COVID, it's kind of, Mondo doesn't even have their gallery space now.
Yeah.
I don't know what their plans are for the future, but I think we've all been missing out on that. And,
I went to Bottleneck as well since I was in New York, and they had their show space because they had the Gaps show. I Am Gaps was on at the time, and I missed the release for that. Which they were really nice about, because I missed the actual opening of the show, and they had I think they showed John Wick, and he made like a special portrait that you could only get with the.
I was at that show.
You was at that show?
I'm pretty sure I was at that show. Yeah, that was I want to say like in July of that year. It was a summertime show.
Early July.
Yeah, no, my wife and I were at that show with Paul Schipper, actually. Paul Schipper was there too.
Awesome, man.
And we hung out with Gabs for the evening.
I could have met you all.
Yeah, all in the same spot.
And I mean, and Gabs is basically just like a 4-hour train ride away, so.
Yeah, you guys are close where you are, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so this was basically just like the Bottleneck space, and like everything was still full of boxes because like the show was basically over. But I missed that, and they were really nice about the John Wick portrait because they gave me one when I was leaving.
Oh, that was sweet of them.
Yeah, so that was really
Did you talk to Joe over there?
Yeah, I talked to everybody. Josh, Joe, and Arseny, I think, but I'm not sure if it was Arseny.
Arseny, yeah. No, I worked with Joe quite a few times a few years back, and he's a really friendly guy, and he's very passionate about the hobby. And that night at Gabs' show, I couldn't get a word in with him edgewise, though. Like, he was swamped back there.
Yeah.
And they were moving prints like,
They were
like a
when,
Las Vegas floor.
Yeah, they were when I came in. And I just looked around. They were like handling and doing shipping stuff. And so busy.
Well, and Gabs sells. Gabs work sells. People love Gabs.
Indeed, but I mean, come on, you don't have to hide. You sell too.
Oh yeah, no, I sell, but and honestly, like, I love Gabs' work. He's half the reason I got into this hobby. That's why I had to go out to his show, and I wanted to, and he and I had talked quite a bit online in the past, and we share a lot of work we do with each other privately and get feedback and whatnot, and when he told me he was having his show in New York, I'm like, I'm there. And he's like, really? And I'm like, absolutely,
Perfect.
So, and it turned out to be a great weekend. It was a blast to go out there and see him.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. So when is going to be the next Rory Kurtz times Gabs collabo?
I don't know. Yeah, he and I have actually talked about collaborating before. I think it's tricky with Gabs and I because our styles are very similar. Yeah. So it's like, well, where do we fill in the blanks for each other? You know what I mean? Like with Akiko, it was perhaps a more natural fit because her and I's styles are very different. Yeah. And so her art directing on top of my illustrating worked really well. But with Gabs and I, it's like there's nothing that I could illustrate that he couldn't do himself just as good. You know what I mean? And and I feel like, looking at the work he does, I'm like, well, of course I can do portraits and likenesses just as well. So I mean, like, so where do we fit with each other?
Yeah, maybe you should do the the Oliver Barrett Mortal Kombat. He wanted to, like, he showed some work in progress, like some sketches and ideas, and he did the versus screen. Yeah. So maybe like one side you're gonna do, and the other side he's gonna do, and then come together.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's definitely room to do something, and he's just so good. Like, I'd really love to just see whatever he does, So we'll see. We keep talking about it, so hopefully something will happen.
Awesome. Okay, so those were the posters I wanted to talk about, and I want to get to know you also a little bit more. I mean, we heard some parts of you, which is the Shakespeare thing, which comes out of nowhere. But how did you start out in this hobby, in the poster?
I mean, like, when I was living in Chicago, back in, I don't know, 2007 or 8 or 9, I had seen Mondo's first initial releases, the Star Wars prints that they were doing with Stout, and then Ali Moss, and seeing his work on it, and so I was aware of it in the periphery, back then when they were first starting, and I was just starting out as an illustrator back then, professionally. My eyes were open for everything. No, I unfortunately I didn't have the benefit of a university career.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting.
So I ended up I had to pick it up kind of on my own, and but I was researching everybody and everyone's styles and what everybody was doing and who the clients were everywhere and whatnot, and so I was aware of the poster print world, and I focused more on editorial illustration and advertising illustration. So lots of magazines, Rolling Stone and ESPN, and
Is that your bread and butter basically before you got into the AMP world then?
In
terms of is that still your bread and butter, or is that?
No, I don't do editorial anymore. Right. Only because the deadlines are crushing and I'm too old for that. The deadlines can be really, really ferocious. Like lots of 48-hour turnaround times. And my style doesn't lend itself to those fast turnaround times because it's much more heavily painted looking, as opposed to the more 2D, illustration that you also see, a great proliferation of now. I was doing that for many, many years, and I hesitated to try and do screen printing art because I didn't understand the screen print process, and I didn't believe I had the hardware. I didn't have a big Wacom tablet or anything to create the work with, and it was all sort of mystical to me. I painted everything almost traditionally, so So it took me a long time to get around to it.
But was it basically when you were a kid in school, was it always like art? Was that something you were really into, or like?
Oh yeah, no, I've been drawing since I was a small child and making art since I was a little kid. And my parents got me a drafting table when I was 10, an adult drafting table, and because they could see already that I had a passion for making art, even though back then it was just, Superman and copying comic books and whatnot. And I still work at that same drafting table 32 years later.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, so I've always loved drawing. I guess I just didn't, I didn't know whether or not I had the chops to do it professionally, especially because I existed in kind of a vacuum.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for art. I wasn't a part of an artistic community. So, I guess I felt like an outsider and I didn't know if there was a way in for me. And so I didn't take it seriously enough when I was younger. I didn't do that until I was around 30.
Who gave you the push to actually do it then?
Oh, my wife. Yeah. Yeah. My wife, Vanessa.
Is she an artist or?
No, she's an art lover and she has great taste and she's a graphic designer herself by trade.
Okay. Yeah.
And she turned me on to a whole movement of artists back then, like Audra Kawasaki and Amy Soul and Stella Hutberg and all these great female artists that were part of this pop art scene happening out on the West Coast and whatnot. And she was like, "You could do this." She's like, "I see your work," because I was drawing all the time back then just for fun. And she's like, "You can do this," And so finally I just bit the bullet and said, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot. I'm not getting any younger. And if there's something I want in my life, now is the time to reach out and get it. I was turning 30 and a lot of my peers were establishing themselves in their careers and growing in their lives. And I felt like I was kind of spinning my wheels.
Did I understand that right? So you did, until that time, you didn't do the illustrations for the editorial illustrations, right? You didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I didn't do any illustrating professionally.
What did you do before, except Shakespeare acting?
Oh, yeah, I was a photographer for many years.
Okay.
And I shot a lot of editorial photography locally in Milwaukee, where I lived at the time. Then I worked in graphic design and photo retouching and. So I worked in that sort of creative side of things, but all at a very local level. And, I didn't have a lot of contacts outside of the city. And when I moved to Chicago, I had hopes that, I could grow that career because I'd be in a much larger market. But then the recession hit. That was back in 2008, 2009. Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of work to be had. And I was forced to reassess what I was going to do. And that's when my wife sort of pushed me to look at illustration, which sounds ridiculous during a recession to try and start a career as an artist. But I didn't have a lot of other cards to play, So I just started then, and that's when I started doing editorial work. That was the first work I got as an illustrator. And at first they were very small assignments for very local magazines, and then that sort of grew into larger assignments, and then finally things started to flourish.
That's awesome. And how do you start out when it comes to movie posters? What was the first thing you were doing? Is there something you're really proud of?
I always loved doing key art, even before I knew that that's what it was really called. Yeah. Like when I was a young kid doing school plays, I was the one who would do the little posters and programs for it. I would do all the drawings for that, all the way back to, I want to say maybe even middle school, but definitely during high school. And then when I went to college for theater,
where are those? Playbills? Those Rory Kurtz playbills.
I know, right? I'm sure my mom's got a bunch of them somewhere in her basement storage space.
Put them in a store, 1,000 a piece.
Yeah, so that's where I started my love of it, and then. Years later, as an illustrator, I started working for Vancouver Opera out in Canada, and they had me do a season's worth of plays and do the poster work for all the plays, and they put them in their bus shelters and billboards and whatnot. And they're a world-renowned opera company, and I had done a Tea, which was a play that they were premiering there. I did. Pirates of Penzance, was it The Magic Flute? A handful of great classic operas.
Solo flute.
Yeah, and I did when I did Pirates of Penzance, I chuckled because I had done that program art when I was in high school, and I
Awesome.
performed as the Major General in Pirates of Penzance, and I did the poster for our school production of it. So I had thought to jokingly send the artwork to them as a mock-up and be like, "What do you think of this?" But I don't know. Wisdom won out in that. Don't send them teenage art; they might not get the joke. But I did tell them that I had done that as a kid, and so things kind of went full circle, and now I was finally doing it professionally. And that was sort of the start of my love of that. And I had also been collecting Mondo posters by that point. So I was very aware of that scene, but I felt like that screen print art, I can never be a part of that. I don't know how to do screen prints.
Yeah.
And like most people, I built a wall in front of something like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. It wasn't until I got another push and a nudge from my wife that I'm like, you're right.
Which is like crazy. I don't know. I mean, you've done the photography. So you basically have an eye for like composition and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I don't know what's in your way if you can do the art.
When I started in photography, it was my background as an artist, amateur as I was, that helped make me a better photographer. And then when I came back to art, being a photographer made me a better artist.
Awesome.
So all those creative, visual arts sort of inform each other. And I think, you give me an Etch-a-Sketch and I'll get you something out of it. You know what I mean? Like it's the same rules apply to visual art across the board. Yeah.
So we're gonna do next time. Then we're gonna do a live Etch-a-Sketch.
We'll do a live Etch-a-Sketching. Sure, I'll do my next Mondo poster will be distributed as Etch-a-Sketches.
Awesome.
A little pricier to ship, but better on the wall.
The Etch-a-Sketch is the way when you shake it, it's gone, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about shipping then, man.
Art is transitory, man. Like I can't guarantee you what shows up in the mail.
Awesome. Okay, fair enough. But back to your first poster.
So the first poster I did was 1 Day Since Yesterday, which I just sent to you. Mitch at Mondo knew who I was because while he was running omgposters.com, I would send him various prints that I was releasing. Like, hey, can you plug this print for me on the blog? It would be a great, favor to me. And so he was familiar already with the work I had been doing. And he reached out to me and he was like, hey, we've got this documentary we're working together with 1 Day Since Yesterday on the work of Peter Bogdanovich, who's this great film director. And he was like, would you want to do some key art for it? I can't, guarantee you it'll lead to anything further, but let's test the waters, So I said, okay. And I bought myself a big Wacom Cintiq tablet, which was on the desk next to me here. And I kind of had a basic understanding that, of how screens had to be created. And I just got to work, and I started sussing it out.
And did you also learn the part then of like separations and stuff like that? Do you do it yourself or?
Yeah, I do. With Mondo especially, I have the benefit of working with John Smith, who will go through my seps and consolidate them even further, because he's just a wizard. But from the beginning, I did my own seps. I had no idea what color counts were acceptable, so I would turn in files that were 1820 screens large, and they'd be like, you got to bring that down a little bit. So, I figured out the seps, and how to do that. And I spoke with some other artists that were part of the scene. Keiko, who was with the agency I was with at the time, helped walk me through some of it. I looked at a lot of Gabbs's work to see sort of what his approach was. Matt Taylor, Matthew Woodson, just a handful of great talents. And I just sort of was able to break it down from them, albeit, amateurly. And I produced my first poster for Mondo 1 Day Since Yesterday. And I handed it in. They were like, this is perfect. Like, this is great. Let's move on to something else. That's off great. We went to the races. Yeah.
When was that? When did this come out?
That was maybe 2017, maybe. So not too long ago.
Not too long
maybe
ago,
6.
Right?
Yeah, maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and then that turned into Captain America, First Avenger, which was an SDCC release that summer, and once that hit the ground, then they're like, all right, we're on. Like, we're gonna do Clockwork Orange, and let's do Drive, and let's do Graduate, and they shot a bunch of stuff at me right away, and this all happened within the span of like 6 months.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, I did 1 Day Since Yesterday, Captain America, Clockwork Orange, Drive, Casablanca, which was a private commission.
Yeah, basically every month to print, right?
Yeah, like I just did a bunch of them right away, and that sort of helped break me into the scene and helped make me a viable name. And and then it was just off from there. And then that same year or so, Baby Driver came out, and then it just sort of became, a stepping stone to really break into it.
What would you say is your most favorite thing to draw? Is it like people? Is it plants? Is it rocks? Is it texture?
I don't know at this point. Like, I there were things that I really loved to draw. I loved physical art, and the human figurative work. And I love the expressionistic approach to it too. And then I went into more of a photoreal approach to it. And so at first I would say the human body, but as times went on, like, I found joy in very odd parts of it. Like when I did the poster for Parasite, I really enjoyed doing those silk pajamas. It's probably my favorite part of that poster.
All right.
Was finding the depth and dimension in silk. And the wood grain on the coffee table, and I was most proud of that. So I mean, at this point, like I wouldn't attach myself to anything. I'm open to all sorts of new subjects and finding the fun in finding them.
And let's ask the other way around: is there something you really don't like to draw?
Cityscapes.
Cityscapes. Ah, man, I love cityscapes.
Yeah. Oh, I love looking at them. I hate drawing them.
I know. I totally get that. But drawing
them,
well.
and I've done them a couple times too. I've faced that monster head on, and when I did the poster for The Dark Knight. It's just a giant cityscape, and I said I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do nothing but city and buildings and perspective and windows and angles and whatnot, And I just gave myself into it, and I loved the final result. But I still hate doing cities. It did not cure my my hatred of working on them.
Even The Dark Knight, your favorite character.
Yeah.
Couldn't help.
Cities are hard.
Indeed. I totally believe you. And I just know Raid 71, who just loves to draw cities.
Yes, yeah. Jock too, for that matter. Jock does some really great cityscapes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was last year for also Comic-Con. I think it was for New York though, for Thought Bubble. I think it was. And or something, but he was on, had like a, I don't know, he was like had a live draw thing or whatever, and then he asked like on Twitter before that, what do you want to see? And I said, I want to see cityscapes, and then he was laughing pretty hard.
I mean, he's got a great approach to him too. Jock does, sometimes he'll lean into abstraction in his cityscapes, and I mean
his heat is just incredible.
Oh, well, yeah, that's an incredible one. Yeah. That's an opus of cityscape. So anyways, but yeah, so I mean, like, cities are probably the most challenging.
I get it. Let's come to something totally different. Let's come to movies. Is there a movie you've seen lately? I mean, we talked about Green Knight. Was it the last one you've seen, or was there something else in between?
That was the last one. Yeah, I just saw Green Knight on Saturday. I snuck out for a couple hours in the afternoon, and it was just as good. No, better than I was expecting. And I knew from the first film trailer for it that we were in for something hypnotic, and emotional.
It was crazy good. I saw it like in early June, I think it was.
No kidding. How'd you get ahead of the line?
It was like a press screening very early. So I could go to the press screening. The only thing I hated about the press screening was, since the movie is very dark, as you can say in terms of like the color and lighting, and they showed the subtitled version, the original subtitled version, and the subtitles were so bright.
Yeah,
that was a little distracting. But I'm going to go on Saturday. I'm going to go again. So
yeah, I could see how the subtitles could blow out the picture, because like you said, the film is graded so darkly. So many of the characters' faces are shot to be, semi-visible in the shadows. Like he really leaned into that, and I could see how throwing some bright subtitles on top of it would create a contrast that made it too difficult to enjoy the darkness in the picture.
But Other than that, I had a great experience in the cinema. It was incredible. I think it was the first time being back. Like even before the cinemas reopened here in Germany.
Yeah. No, I think it's mine too. No, I did see something in the theater before that, but I can't recall it. It must have been forgettable. But this one was not. Green Knight has my vote for film of the year right out of the gate.
Okay. It's up there. It's up there right now. I mean, I saw Nomadland this year, so I mean, and it came out technically this year in Germany, so this is up there. I love Promising Young Woman, and I love Minari as well, which has been all this year for me. So.
Oh, I've been wanting to see Minari, and I think that just dropped on one of the streamers here too that I could see it on. I love that actor. Is that Steven Yeun? Am I pronouncing that correctly? So. Yeah, I love. And I think he had a hand in producing it too.
Yeah, I think so.
But I wanted to see that as well. The trailer itself looked so uplifting and it's really powerful.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And
but it's no Green Knight.
It's no Green Knight. That's true.
You can't top Green Knight. Green Knight is like a mythical odyssey.
I mean, and I love Arthurian legends. I love all kinds of myth things and stuff like that.
Sure.
What was your favorite character? Let's say character, not part.
Well, I mean, we want to be vague for those who haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's even come out in the UK yet.
No, did you think it pushed back again for some reason? It's like super weird.
I was reading the director, and this gives away nothing in the film. And he was talking about how he portrayed the king and the queen, which that was interesting, in the folktale, it would be Arthur and Guinevere. And he said that he wanted to portray them as almost alien looking, so the way he lit them and applied makeup to them, weird, right? They looked otherworldly as the king and queen. But then he talked about how that actor who played the king, whose name escapes me, is a great actor. He's been in Prometheus and the Bond or the Mission Impossible films. He's really, really good. He's played some great sinister characters. But he played the character of the king, quote unquote Arthur, with so much warmth that it created this contrast to his alien depiction in the film, and it just created a really great character, both him and the queen, but obviously he was given a bit more important dialogue in the film. So I focused on him more, and I thought he did that role really, really well. And I think Dev Patel, he slayed it. He slayed the role. He killed it. I think, it's the best role he's done, in my opinion, up to now. So,
by far.
But still, I think the character who played Arthur, I think, caught my eye a bit more in terms of his delivery of his performance.
I have to say, my favorite character was the fox.
Sure.
I love the fox.
Yeah.
I love the first thing when I saw the fox, I was like, oh, there's Ghost of Tsushima. Gotta pet my Kami.
Yeah. Well, and we could talk more about the fox and the fox's role, but we should probably avoid that so we don't spoil anything for those that have yet to see it yet. But I agree.
It's gonna come out in not this week, in 3 weeks. I think in 3 weeks.
But it hasn't even opened in the UK yet, so I feel like let's not,
Fair enough.
Because that film is such a spoil of riches. You know what I mean? Like, for when you first see it and you get to unpack all those characters and moments, like, I just wouldn't even want to taint someone's approach to it. I was a huge fan growing up of Excalibur, the John Borman film that came out in the early 80s. Yeah. And this felt like such a great...
They have that in there as well, right?
Continuation of that.
What was that? They have the Green Knight story in there as well, or am I wrong?
No, I don't. I know Sir Gawain is in that
maybe
film.
Just Sir Gawain? I'm not sure of it, but in some movie it was.
Yeah, but no, the Green Knight's in there. Yeah. If anything, it focused more. Well, the Excalibur focused a lot on Lancelot in the early half of the film, but then there is a whole segment of Percival's journey to find the Grail for Arthur, and so maybe that's what you're thinking of. Yeah, they do follow Percival around for quite a bit. And his journey to find the Holy Grail. And that film, too, is just as sort of visually odd and emotional and
haven't seen it in forever.
Epic a film as this
definitely
one.
Definitely gonna rewatch it, though.
It's so good.
It's
so good. It's so cheesy. Like, some of the dialogue is so over the top, that, it's just a great quotable quotable film.
Indeed. But yeah, overall, a fantastic movie, and a very good night movie for forever.
Yes.
And then the last duel is going to come, so I'm excited for that as well. When it comes,
I'm excited to see all those bad haircuts.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw the trailer; those haircuts look ridiculous. I'm like, but perhaps that's period authentic. Maybe that's what they were rocking back then.
Yeah.
A lot of party in the back.
Exactly.
But I mean, I'd love to see a film. I'm a huge fan of plate armor and medieval armor, and it shows up in my art a bit, especially in my personal work. And I feel like since Excalibur, there hasn't been a lot of full plate armor depictions on film. I'm not sure why. It's so gorgeous looking. It seems like such a great visual device to use in a period film. And there have been so many great period films from that time in European history, the 13th, 14th, 15th century, But yeah, they still haven't brought in any of that yet. And hopefully the last duel, we'll see a little bit of that authentic plate armor
Let's hope so.
show
Fingers
up in the
crossed
film.
on that one. Is there going to be a Rory Kurtz poster for The Green Knight in the future?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked with Mondo about it, but I couldn't help but think about ideas for it while I was watching the film. I think I'd want to watch it a few more times. It'd be a difficult film to make a poster. I struggled with Blade Runner 2049 for the same reason, in that there were so many themes to the film, both narratively and visually. Like, how do you distill that down, to a poster?
Have you seen those tribute posters that have?
No, I haven't.
The poster posse did, like, they have this series. It's called Hate to Wait, since all the films got pushed back, and then the roster of artists, like, I don't know, 10, 15 artists from the poster posse released, they released, I think, 5 or so, or 4 every other day, and they just did all of that for The Green Knight. And some of them are really great, and now I've seen more posters coming in. Jay Cantu did a portrait series, like a portrait of the Green Knight and Dave Patel, basically juxtaposed on each other, so you can see one half the Green Knight, one half of Dave Patel, and some really great artwork coming out of this. Yeah,
I think it would be hard to top the original one sheet they dropped. I don't know if you recall that one where you just saw the back of the gold crown and the chainmail and the red back. I mean, come on. I saw that poster and it looks
A24,
almost illustrated.
They do good key art.
Yes, they do. Gosh, I'd love to work for them.
Those key artists. Oh, man.
Yeah, no, and in fact, when they reached out to me about Lamb, I kept talking about The Green Knight through the whole conversation, because I think the first trailer had already come out, and I'm like, please God, if you ever need anything for The Green Knight, let me know.
Fingers crossed that you
but
get to
I mean, what they've released, let's hope, maybe Mondo will give me a shot at Green Knight. We'll see.
Well, other than the last duel, is there something else you really look forward to watching that's coming out soon?
No, I can't think of anything. It's been such a sparse year for filmmaking because of COVID. There hasn't been a lot being teased yet. They're just now starting to release more. I remember the trailer for The Batman looking outstanding. Okay. And if it's half as good as the trailer would lead us to believe, I think it's going to be a good reimagining of a character we've seen a million times already. But he's my favorite character, so I always look forward to new iterations.
No Top Gun, no Dune.
I'll see all of it. I'll see it all. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge film fan. So I'll see all of it the day it drops. I'll be at the theater seeing Dune, and I'll be seeing Maverick. Oh, come on. I'm going to see anything Tom Cruise is in.
All right.
I'll see all of those. But I'd say The Last Duel definitely has my curiosity. The Batman has my curiosity.
House of Gucci.
I'll see the other films, but, House of Gucci, I saw the character casting recently, but I haven't seen any footage of it.
The trailer's out. Just came out the other day.
Did the trailer come out?
The other day,
yeah, I saw the pictures of Adam Driver and Lady Gaga in character, but I haven't seen the footage. So I'll have to go check out the trailer.
I just read about it the other day that the movie should have been done before with Leonardo DiCaprio and Margot Robbie as main roles as Adam Driver and Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Then this got changed with the Ridley Scott, and then Ridley Scott wasn't attached anymore, and they had Wong Kar-wai doing that, which would have been crazy probably. And now Ridley Scott is back doing it, but it's still crazy.
My wife is a huge Wong Kar-wai fan. She would have loved that. Yeah, and she loves Leonardo DiCaprio, so
been perfect.
Any of that would have been fantastic for her. I'm not a huge Wong Kar-wai fan, but I'm curious to see what this film is all going to be about. We'll see. I'm interested in this Pamela and Tommy Lee film that Lily James and Sebastian Stan are doing.
Exactly like them. It's so crazy.
I know. When they said Lily James is Pamela Anderson, I'm like, I don't get how that's going to work.
Right?
I was used to her being like a sprightly little brunette. And even Sebastian Stan as Tommy Lee, I'm like, dude, Sebastian Stan's strapping and broad-chested. How's he going to look like a gangly rock star? But they figured out a way.
It's incredible.
And I'm like, and what is this movie going to be? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be a comedy? Is it going to be a drama? Like, what are we? I don't know, but I'm in for it. I want to see it.
All right, but yeah, good stuff. That's also looking forward for that. That's it looked crazy in the pictures. I was like, oh my god, this is it looks exactly like it. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And how about Sebastian Stan, man? I'm a big Sebastian Stan fan. He's really grown on me. I think the first thing I saw him in was he was on a television series about Once Upon a Time, I think it was called, where they take a lot of mythical characters from the Disney universe. It's
like Into the Woods.
I think it's called Once Upon a Time. Yeah, and he played like some version of a fairy tale character, and I'm like, that guy's weird, but he's handsome, And then I saw him as Bucky, and I'm like, oh, that's the same guy that was in Once Upon. And then I saw him in I, Tonya, and I'm like, oh, this guy's fantastic.
He was great in I, Tonya.
He was hilarious in there. I think there was a moment where like Tanya Harding and him are having an argument in the kitchen, and he whips an ear of broccoli at her and knocks her down with it. And it was such a bizarre, weird moment, and the look on his face with his greasy mustache. And I'm like, this film is awesome, and Sebastian Stan's fantastic. Like so I've been a fan of him ever since, and I think he was great in Bucky Winter Soldier, and I can't wait to see what he does with Pamela and Tommy Lee.
Yeah, me neither, man. Speaking of movies, what's your favorite?
I couldn't tell you that. I have no idea. I love so many movies. Like
I'll put it this way.
Give me a parameter.
I have I don't know, my favorite movie. I always say Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back because that's one of the movies that I watched the most.
Yeah, I would say if we're going off what movie I've seen the most, it would be Predator.
All right,
I've seen Predator probably 100 times. I grew up watching that movie. And as a Saturday night matinee movie, I was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. So how could you not love Predator? And even today, if I'm flipping through channels and I stumble on Predator, I'm watching it. I'm just going to leave that on. So I not my favorite movie by any stretch, but my most watched film, and I enjoy watching it every time.
I would love to see just a jungle poster of things. A Predator poster, but just jungle by you. Because I love how you draw plants. And
my God. All the leaves you'd have to draw. I'm done with leaves after that Taliesin poster. I'm not doing leaves again anytime soon.
No cityscapes, no leaves.
No leaves, no cityscapes. I'm really narrowing things down.
And after
apparently.
the Rocky Mountain one, no more rock.
Oh, no mountain. No, I'd keep doing mountains. Mountains I enjoy.
Okay, fair enough. So how do you like the regular poster for Predator, though? Is that something you would try to explore at some point, or did you do one?
The regular poster for what?
Of Predator?
You know what? I don't remember the poster for Predator actually. I remember the box art for the VHS tape, but I've never seen it, and I've never actually seen an alternative poster for it that's hit the spot for me. Okay. That's hit the spot for me. I'm saying, I've seen the many.
Have you seen the Burgers? The Burgers was pretty cool, I think. Oh, no, never mind. That was from Predator 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't seen, and I know a bunch of artists who've tried to tackle it.
Also, is it Gabs or is it his brother?
I think they both have, but I know Gabs did. I've seen Gabs' version. I know Ken Taylor did one, if I'm thinking correctly.
Matt Ferguson also did one.
Yeah, everybody's taking a stab at Predator, but me. But I've yet to see one that really got hit it out of the park for me.
Fair enough. Speaking of posters in general, are there any 3 or I don't know, or how many posters you really, really dig right now that are not yours?
Everything that I want to be careful to pronounce his name, Muragaya. Yeah, thank you. What he's doing lately is really
WandaVision. Oof.
Yeah. Oh, that WandaVision was fantastic. I just bought one of his that he did with Spoke Art too, and that he premiered in the Serigraph show.
I think it's called 3-2 or so.
Yeah, actually, it's in that tube right behind me.
I was coming to that question.
Against that wall.
What's in that tube behind you?
I didn't leave that there as a tease. I'm just, I just haven't gotten around to tidying things up here. But yeah, that's his poster from Serigraph.
I also got a tube, but you can't see it. It's like over there.
Yeah. What's in your tube?
I got the Sicario AP by Jay Cantu.
Okay, yeah, very good. Jay Cantu, I'll have to look him up. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Jay Cantu, how do you spell that?
Like Kontou.
Okay, got it. Sicario.
Yeah, it's he did.
Yeah,
you can see it. It's the he did the casino behind me.
Ah, okay. Yeah, there's light glare on the top of it, but I can see the top half of him. Yeah.
But I can show you later.
Who else would I be really into right now? I would say I'm probably into him. I'm watching everything Akiko drops. She doesn't do as many alternative film posters. She works, more in an official capacity, which is enviable. And so her work has been really fun to watch. Trying to think of who else right now is really blowing me away. I feel like things have been a little quiet since we haven't had as many live conventions. Mm-hmm. And I do miss that. And I feel like once the live conventions start up again, we're going to see a lot more new art hitting the scene.
All right, yeah, I hope so too. I mean, the SDCC releases were plenty. And it's like, I don't know.
Oh, I think it was their best drop yet for SDCC. For Mondo. I think their lineup was stellar.
I locked my computer for that time and my phone and everything where I can pay stuff.
I mean, come on, all the X-Men stuff they were doing alone was gorgeous.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, Phantom City's X-Men poster was great. I love the 6-scale Wolverine figure.
Yeah, that all
great. They just had a great lineup this year. Might be my favorite that they've had for SDCC.
Yeah, the Bottleneck also had some really cool stuff. That's one of the only thing I grabbed was the Darth Maul by Roos Burgers. That's the one basically when I had him on first on the podcast, he was talking about it, that he wants to do a Darth Maul, and I'm a big prequel fan, but a big Darth Maul fan, and so Darth Maul hit also with the We Buy Your Kids one, just great.
Yeah,
I'd love to see them all.
Yeah, what did We Buy Your Kids do? They did Basic Instinct, right?
Basic Instinct. They did Darth Maul, like The Apprentice.
Yes, yeah, they did the Phantom Menace for Mondo, and then they did Basic Instinct for.
Nautilus.
What was
Nautilus.
that? Nautilus?
Nautilus art.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Two great releases.
And the Total Recall also looked also great.
Was that Killian Aang? Yeah.
Good stuff.
I love talking posters with somebody who knows posters.
That's
I can't have these conversations here in the studio with my family or friends. They're not into the poster scene.
I totally get it. Get it. I mean, that's why I'm gonna probably going to do tomorrow, but people have seen it by when this comes out. But I'm gonna do a live unboxing of the Sicario print. I also got some prints from the MIMA, the Museum of Modern Art, I think it is in Brussels.
Oh, MoMA.
No, it's not the MoMA.
Yeah.
It's called MIMA in Brussels. I don't know. It's something else. It's not, but it's Modern Art Museum. And they have the Laurent Dorieux show, and they had some offset prints from his earlier releases. And so they... Yeah,
I think I saw the pictures on Facebook of the show. Yeah. It's almost like a retrospective.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, and they had like, I don't know.
His body of work is prolific, man. He's got like a million posters up his sleeves now.
And I finally got I got the Jaws now. So I mean, they had like a 50.
You got Jaws. Wait, did you get the offset version or did you get the screen
offset
print
version for now?
Offset, okay.
For now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a grail, man. That Jaws is a grail.
Having this, I think it was €15. So for the offset print, which it's a little like the paper is very thin on this one, but still worth it. I'd say.
I would love to have some offset prints of my work made. Like I feel a well of empathy for people who have just caught on to the work now, because there are always new people coming into this scene. Like, and I feel bad that they don't have the opportunity to own Jaws for $50.
Yes.
like it was when it originally dropped, or I remember I didn't catch into the scene early enough to get Vanya's Dracula poster that he did for Mondo, which I think was for one of the conventions. And I ended up having to trade an arm and a leg for it years later. I get people reaching out to me all the time looking for Drive or The Graduate or, Annihilation or whatnot, or older pieces. I'm like, I wish they had a way to do that.
I think that was my first Rory Kurtz when I grabbed the 4K edition of The Graduate.
Yeah. Oh, The Graduate. That was a good one. Mm-hmm. I've got that one hanging up in my living room.
Yeah, they have the. I mean, gladly that they did the limited edition Blu-ray with the artwork on it. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah. I've got a handful of copies, and they had sent me. Who was that through? That was through Studio Canal, and they had sent a box of goodies afterwards to me that had, as well as a case of all the Blu-rays and DVDs. They had put the artwork on banners and totes and keychains and coasters and coffee mugs and the whole. So I had a big box show up of all this gratis, and it was really exciting. And that's when I had just started doing the film poster work. So that was a lot of fun to receive in the mail.
Yeah, awesome. So what's your opinion on galleries? I mean, you did you work with Mondo and other galleries as well. Is that your thing that you say, I really love that the gallery work, the license work, or also do you try to dabble in private commissions? Do you do like one-on-one sketches and stuff like that? Or
I do a lot of one-on-one. Yeah, I do a lot of one-on-one sketches when I can fit them in between assignments because they're just great fun, in all honesty. There's obviously not the profit that, I can make doing a $100,000 ad job, but it's just great practice and it allows me to work in physical media. Again, so much of the license stuff and the commercial stuff has to be done digitally. Whereas in between assignments, I can actually bust out oil paints and paint on actual wood panel and paint them at my own pace, whatever I'm interested in. So I love working with the galleries though too. And I would say that they're probably my favorite customer. I worked a lot with Bottleneck when I first started working in the poster scene. And then I worked a lot with Mondo too. And now I've been doing a little bit more commercial work, so I haven't had as much time to invest in that. But I'd like to find my way back to it and do more with the galleries. They're so much fun. And you get, there's less, extreme pressure when you're working on an ad agency job. You're trying to meet a lot of people's needs. Whereas when you're working with a gallery, it's just you and the gallery. It's the direction they have planned for a property or a show, be it a group show or a license for a film or whatnot, and so it's just a lot more relaxed and enjoyable a process.
Awesome. And I mean, we know you collect as well. We see the tube behind you. But what else is in your collection? What would you say is like one of your grails?
I mean, gosh, I've got, when I first started doing the Mondo posters, I had the opportunity then to sort of go back and gather up some of the grails that I had really wanted, because I was in a position where people were willing to trade with me because I finally had something that they wanted, Yeah. So Vanya's Dracula was one of them. Isa Anafa's Grand Budapest Hotel was another one. And I know you've had her on the show, I believe.
She wasn't on yet. I asked her, though.
She hasn't been on?
Right in the beginning, I asked her. But she's on Thailand, and she is very not sure about her English. But I mean, writing she did very well, and I think it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But she said this for a reason, for now.
Sure. Yeah, her Grand Budapest Hotel was a grill for me and my wife, and we got that. Kevin Tong's Mulholland Drive was a big one, so we scored that one. That one we actually purchased right off the floor of my first MondoCon. My wife Vanessa, scored that right away, and back when it was still affordable.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, but I think I've gotten all the grills I want.
Cool.
And now I've sort of moved on more to collecting original art. So that's a different ballgame altogether.
Indeed it is.
And a different process, and I'm still low man on the totem in that world. Most of the art is first made available to those that are spending large amounts of money on original art. By the time I'm led into the showroom, a lot of the pieces have already been picked through, but because I'm not yet spending, $1 million a year on original art, like that's just the position I'm in. But I'm enjoying it, and it's given me an opportunity to discover new art. Like Megan Ellen McDonald is one. I've got a couple of her paintings on the other side of the room here, and I've been collecting her lately. And so I enjoy doing that now. Those are where the grails are for me at the moment.
That's totally fine, totally fair. And what's the latest piece that you have been putting actually up in frame and hanging or?
Let's see. I haven't put anything in a frame in months now, actually. I've been so subsumed here in the studio with work. I haven't gotten a chance to, but I did commission a piece from Megan Ellen McDonald recently, and that'll be the next thing that gets framed when it shows up. So I'm very curious to see what arrives from her. But then, yes, of course, I've got the Murillo painting, which I would show you if I had it out of the tube behind me. But that'll probably be the next piece of artwork that actually winds up in a poster that winds up in a frame in the house.
Awesome. Speaking of your house, what does it look like? Is it like full of art? Is it basically like the wall behind me? It's everywhere.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not quite that gallery style. It's a bit more Spartan. Only because of the work I do here in the studio. I don't like to have my eyes constantly seeing art everywhere. In fact, the bedroom has no art or photography on the wall at all. And that I'm fairly strict about. I don't want to go to sleep staring at more art on the wall. I need to let my brain create,
This is the one thing I have, like, where the headrest is, I have the art on the wall in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And this is basically, so I just see it when I go inside, but when I sleep, I don't see it. It's all good.
You're facing the other way, yeah. And I don't have much up in my studio, as you can see on the walls behind me here. I tend to keep the walls pretty blank in here as well. Partially out of practicality, because I'll hang paintings on the wall to dry as I'm working on them.
Yeah.
But then also because I feel like this should be a space where, all that's happening inside here and not on the walls in front of me,
But the rest of the house is like full of stuff,
full of art. Yeah. We've got art everywhere. Got a lot of James Jeans on the wall. Okay. My wife and I are big fans of James Jean. We've got a lot of Mondo posters on the wall. Some of my favorite Mondo pieces. Some original pieces. I've got a Miles Johnston drawing that I'm really excited to own. I got it right as he was sort of blowing up. I've got some Joao Rouse drawings on the wall, some originals, and then some McDonald paintings. And I've got a Kent Williams painting I purchased about 2 years ago. That is my prized possession. So we've got a nice mix of original art and print art.
Awesome. And is that in like who does the interior design here? Is it more your wife or is it more you? Or
it's both of us. Yeah, no, it's a shared endeavor. Yeah, and we're both happy to do it that way. We share a lot of our tastes. It's a Venn diagram of work she loves and work I love, and we hang what overlaps. And fortunately, what overlaps is very large. So, there's a lot of shared love of art between us.
Yeah, that's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, it can be.
Totally get it. And what does your workplace look like? How do you have your studio, everything set up? I mean, we can see a little bit.
Well, you're sort of looking at it right now. If I can tilt my camera a little bit, you can see one end. Right?
There we go.
Books
cool
and
stuff.
research.
I love that.
Yeah, and then over here is where a lot of my poster and art materials are stored. Mm-hmm. It's a rather large room. It's about 25 feet long. Mm-hmm. And I know it can sound a little echoey in here depending on how the microphone picks stuff up, because I do keep the walls free of any hangings or curtains or artwork or anything. I like everything really, really empty and open. And like to give my mind room to breathe. Big windows, lots of natural light. And lots of art supplies.
And how's your desk? Are you clutter-free desk?
Clutter-free. I am not cluttery. Yeah, and I can't make art in a mess. I need everything to be in its proper place to work. So
I mean, you can probably see how OCD I'm about things as well. So I have
well, you have to be when you're doing gallery hanging. Look at that. That is perfectly symmetrical.
Yep. I measured everything and did all of that.
And
even the colors. Basically, it's like from blue on this side, and then we have red on the other side here, and then you have the gaps, the portraits looking at each other, and in the middle you got the cityscapes you don't like to draw.
Yeah.
And then some brown white-ish colors on the side here. So.
Yeah, no, you've got some great work up there. I love the Phantom City Captain America.
Yeah.
I love the crabs and gabs on the wall.
The fun thing is that the casino is like basically the same cutoff as the Captain America. So you have half of Robert De Niro and half of Chris Evans. So that's of their faces.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Yeah, you've got some great work there. I'm envious of your collection, actually. I wish I could hang that much work up at the same time. But yeah, my wife sort of keeps me limited to, a sparse amount on the wall.
All right. Let's move on a little bit here. And is there anything you can talk about that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how Ken would feel about me throwing it out there, but I'm working on the next Frank Lloyd Wright show as we speak.
Do? Oh my God.
Yes, we do. Yeah. So
it's not a good sound for my wallet, my friend.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I do have some work coming up for that I'm working on at this very moment. Actually,
quick question:
today
is it going to be 24 by 36 or?
No, it'll be 18 by 24.
I need one more 24 by 36. I have 3, and I have always 2 up at the same time, so I can't switch them out.
I know, but the last piece I did for the Frank Lloyd Wright series was 18 by 24, so I want to continue that theme, and keep the size similar across,
Totally.
So I've got something coming up for him.
That's awesome.
And then I'm working on some commercial work, unfortunately, that I can't share anything about due to NDAs and whatnot. But so my next screen print release will probably be the Frank Lloyd Wright piece.
Awesome. We talked a lot about prints already, and we talked about an earlier show about your Parasite, how you work and how everything comes together. Only one question I have: is there a certain paper and color that you really like to go to go to?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm a fan of the hues of pink, and that's a big part of my signature
but you said
lately.
Black in the beginning.
Like it's black on top of pink. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think that pink is just where my head is in the moment, and exploring that color and how it contrasts off of other colors and the different tonal range you can get out of it. I don't know why, it's just instinctual right now. And I think a lot of artists would agree about the work that they make, that like it's not premeditated, like it's just a need, So yeah, that's a color that I'm crazy for right now. As far as paper goes, I don't have much say over the screen print and the paper it comes off of. I know that when I've been drawing lately, I've been drawing on a 100% cotton rag paper, and I really enjoy that.
Because I remember, because Matt Taylor said he when it comes to printing, he could pick his paper, what kind of paper he wants to print his prints on.
Yeah, and well, some can, I've never, when I hand in my SEP files, the separated art, we look at the base layer and make a decision whether this is going to be printed on white, or if we can find a paper that matches that base color. Right. And if that's the case, then we can eliminate one screen altogether and just print right on that first color. Perfect. You know what I mean? And that can save us some money. When it comes to special papers, and I think that's probably what Matt's talking about a lot too, because he's worked on some really fun papers. Then we're choosing consciously, and then I get to explore a little bit. Like when we did the Logan poster, John Smith was helping us in contact with Steve over at DNL, look through the different types of metallic papers we might be able to print on to get that adamantium luster across. Awesome. And that was a lot of fun. And then it was getting real minute down to like, what direction does the grain of that paper run in, so that like it has to match the direction of the art and the portrait, yada, yada, yada. And so that was a lot of fun. And I do like printing on foil a lot. But I do it sparsely, only because foil is a really difficult paper to ship, it's very delicate, and the ink can come off of it very easily. And 2, it has to be appropriate for the work.
Yep.
I don't like it when it's gimmicky.
We always have that discussion here on the podcast. Yeah.
Everybody, and I know a lot of artists feel that way, and I feel like I go a step further, where I only use foil when it reflects the material in the art. You know what I mean? Like, so I only used foil so far in Ex Machina because of the chrome body parts in her armor. You know, and I only used foil on Logan to represent the adamantium claws.
Yeah, that's like it's like basically Dolly's print when he did Lord of the Rings stuff, and the ring was the foil. So
yes, you know, like only where we're representing a metal surface. You know, like I know that there are other artists who are able to use foil for more abstract areas and say, okay, the base of the entire art will be in foil, and then we'll just print on the highlights and the shadows. You know, like I don't particularly care for that. You know, like it does funny things with the exposure. You know, like I feel like, you know, it only works where metal is shown. That's me, just personally.
Let's come to my favorite question, which is, which classical artist would you like to see make a film poster, and which movie and franchise would it be?
Edward Gorey, Batman.
Batman. Let me Google Edward Gorey while you talk about it. Why this?
Yeah, Edward Gorey is Gorey. He did the intro art for, I think, Mystery Theater on PBS. And he's not classical in the sense of like he's not a Renaissance painter. But he is a classically known artist, and he's been around for a long time, and he's been an artist that's been riffed off of and lifted of for decades now. And he's got such a great, ironic, you know, irreverent, you know, approach to doing very dark Gothic art. And I feel like
I can see that,
he would do a great piece of like art for Batman or a Tim Burton film or,
the Elseworld Batman, Batman by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gaslight,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'd probably choose him for something like that. And I'm just a big fan of his work, so I'd love to see. Sadly, I think he's passed on long ago now, but love to see more of that style come out.
Awesome. Okay, then the basically last question before we get to your shout outs is, do you have any tips, like some advice for the people out there that start out?
Yeah. Don't worry about the result of what you're making. You know, don't get caught up in worrying about what the end goal is going to look like in your poster or print or piece of art. You know, just focus on doing the work. I think that was the hardest thing for me to learn. You know, I'm so obsessed with the end goal being excellence or what have you, you know, that oftentimes it would scare me away from starting a project, you know, and it took me a long time to realize that it's okay to make garbage. You know, I don't show the garbage, you know, you don't have to, you know, but to simply find the joy in making of the work and not being so attached to what the end result is.
All right. That's a very good advice. And now it's time for you to give some shout outs to artists, friends, family, whoever you want, and let the people in the end know where they can find you. Okay.
Well, who would I give a shout out to? Again, Muriag. Wait.
Murugaya.
Murugaya. How am I not? We talk all the time online, he and I too. And here I am. I can't pronounce his name. Murugaya. Go look at his work. He's fantastic. And he's blowing up right now, so he certainly doesn't need a plug from me. But I'm going to give him one anyways because he's a great guy and his work's really fantastic. I would definitely suggest checking out Akiko. If you don't already know who she is, she's a legend in the film poster art community. Matt Taylor. You guys all know who Matt Taylor is, but come on, he's the nicest guy working in our industry. I got to plug him as well.
And you could all check out the interviews on the podcast as well to get to know them better.
Yeah, I mean, most of these people have been here on your show. So, so I would plug all of them. I would also, you know, love to just send a big shout out to Bottleneck Gallery and Mondo, because galleries like them have allowed artists like me to have a career and share my own passion and create this community of collectors that we all get to be a part of. So I'll give a big shout out to them. As far as where you can find me, check out RoryKurtz.com. That's just where the action is. I have a Facebook collector page where I do drop some privately created work and where you can get some really limited edition stuff. And that's a Rory Kurtz Collector Group on Facebook. So just go have a search there. It's a hidden group, so you'll see the title, but you'll have to apply to join. But it's a lot of fun there, and we share a lot of artwork and a lot of limited exclusives and whatnot. And then my Instagram, Rory Kurtz on Instagram, where you'll see a lot of my stuff coming out day and date.
There you go. You people heard it here first. Rory Kurtz, the man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you for the fourth time, I think. So and I hope it's not going to be the last. But thank you for this interview, and I hope the people got the insight they wanted. And we'll see each other next week for the Release Podcast.
All right. Cheers. Thanks a lot, Tom. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.